instead of just unmuting your mic and talking, it's going to lead to it's not going to be orderly. So please, when you have a question or you want to say anything or contribute, kindly just raise your hand and then we'll call on you. And also, you can also use the chat button for your comment or your question. If you don't want us to hear your voice, you can also just input your comments or your question into the chat box. Also, ensure you can still hear the fire alarm with your headset on. This is a very, very important safety tip because wherever you are, try not to ever make raise the volume of whatever you're listening to too high that you're not aware of your surrounding. Also, be at alert and aware of your environment. Try to be very aware of your environment and be so cautious that anything that happens, you are ready to spring into action. And always stay safe and maintain a good sitting position. While sitting, try not to be bent, try to maintain a good sitting position as it's going to help you. And like we always say in our HSC department, safety first and safety always. So thank you very much. We're going to be moving to the next section. And once again, my name is Ogechi, and I'm going to be quickly introducing our trainer. So let me take you on the journey of our trainer. Meet our trainer. Toby is a multi-potentialite based in Abuja with over 7 years of diverse industry experience, including roles as an auditor, artist, energy engineer, analyst, business intelligence consultant, analytic product manager, data engineer, and founder. He uses Tableau to blend his artistic passion with programming and analytical skills, creating compelling visual stories. Wow. In 2019, he founded Resagratia, an educational company empowering professionals and students with future-ready data skills. When not working, Toby enjoys spending time with family and friends, making him a versatile figure at the intersection of product design, growth engineering, and data visualization. What a profile. Without any further ado, I'm going to open the floor to Toby Williams Babatunde, our data product manager, founder at Resagratia. Mr. Toby, it's such an honor to read your profile. The floor is yours, sir. Yeah, Mr. Toby, can you hear me, please?
Hi, Gichi. Thank you so much. I wonder if you guys can hear me. Is
Yeah,
this clear? Is this loud?
we can hear
Uh,
you loud and clear.
okay. Cool. It's a pleasure to be here. It sounds like a little bit of a walking contradiction because I'm a Tableau ambassador and now I'm going to be taking you guys through how to build end-to-end data products, right, with Power BI and Excel. But it's like at the end of the day, if you're skilled in either one of the two, you stand a very high chance of integrating well with the labor force, and you're rest assured that your skills are they're going to be in demand, right? So that's, I think, very important to note. Um, I will like to begin this presentation by just acknowledging the host, the Society of Petroleum Engineers Worry section. And thank you, Lucky, for inviting me to this platform. Today, I'm going to be taking you guys through some form of energy data, right? I know like y'all are petroleum engineers, but I've looked into the statistical database of the Nigerian Bureau of Stats, and something that will be exciting for us to look at, also based on my expertise, is it's electricity data. I think it's easier to understand. I also studied as an engineer, right? Like an energy engineer, electrical energy engineer. So I will be very happy to take you guys through that. So yeah. Um, am I allowed to share my screen? Am I
Yes, you are. So I'm just going to stop sharing now so that you can share.
okay?
I'm just giving you. I'm just coming. I'm coming. Please give me a moment.
No problem.
All right, Mr. Toby, you can go ahead and share.
Hmm. All right, let me do that. Okay. Share my screen. Da. There we go. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Cool. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at the Nigeria electricity report. How many of you are familiar with the discos, right? The distribution companies in Nigeria, the electricity distribution companies in Nigeria. Is that lucky? Lucky you're familiar with them, right? Okay. So you it, it's like where you are now. I don't know where you are. Can you type what disco is supplying electricity to your state, to your location? Can you type it in the comment? What's the name of the disco supplying electricity to wherever you are now? I'm going to type one, right? If you can see my comment, then this is, I mean, Abuja is called Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. Okay. I see folks typing PHDC, Port Harcourt Distribution Company, BEDC. Is that Benin Electricity Distribution Company? Right. Okay. So, um, let me ask, who thinks what distribution company? Oh, I see IEBDC. That's Ibadan Electricity Distribution. What, which of these discos do you think generates the most revenue? Which one do you think generates the most revenue? I wanna, like, is it the Ibadan one? Is it the Benin? Is it the Abuja? We have two in Lagos. There's one called Ikeja. There's one called Eko. You know, so there's a couple of electricity distribution companies. Which one do you think generates the most revenue? You can type it. I want to see what you guys think in terms of okay, Lucky thinks Eko generates the most revenue. Interesting. Um, who else? What do you think? You don't think Benin generates the most revenue? Or you don't think Abuja generates the most revenue? I see. And some other thing is, are you guys familiar that the name of the distribution company is not essentially tied to the state that they distribute electricity to? So Abuja is not only delivering to Abuja, right? It delivers as well to, say, Nasarawa and I think Niger State, right? Um, Benin might be delivering to maybe Ondo, Benin, and some neighboring states as well. So, okay, good. I see some people think ECO, something AEDC. So it's between ECO, AEDC, and Benin. All right. Um, Today we're going to be looking at the data in numbers, and we'll be looking at the trend and visualize it, right? Using Power BI. We'll also be looking at the uh, the not just revenue generated, but the customers billed, right? So we see how things change. And if we have some time, how many minutes do I have? Okay, Chi, we started like 11:15. I'm just trying to confirm how many minutes I have.
50, 50.
50. Okay, so all right. I think we have say 40 plus minutes to go. All right. So uh if we have some time, we'll work with maps and I don't just want to come and drop, would I say, everything onto you guys. I want you to see.
Yeah, I'm just, you need anything in the container?
Ephraim? Okay, cool. I want to take you guys through my thinking process and to let you guys know that the more inquisitive you are in the data analytics space, the better you will be, right? I don't have everything stored up. I just know how to ask questions, right? And interpret those questions and problem solve. So problem solving, curiosity, and analytical thinking, those are core of the skills, right, that you will understand and gain by learning data analytics. So I've come to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Over here, I've come to the e-library. The link is what I'm posting in the group chat, and I've typed energy in here, right? I filtered for energy, and I'm thinking of just looking at the Q2 2023 report, right? I've looked at the Q1 2024 reports. I've seen that it's not a continuous reports, right? So there's breaks in between, there's periods in which they did not report. And I think let's look at Q2 2023 report and interpret it. So I click on that Q2 2023 report. It opens up this panel here that allows me to just have a look at the summary, right? So I can see the executive summary over here. It tells me total customers in Q2 2023 were 11.47 million. From 11.27 million in Q1 2023. It shows an increase of 1.84%.
Oh.
Yeah, the the skills that you're going to be gaining in data analytics, I would say it's not tied to just one particular industry, right? I gave you an example, right? That I started my career actually as an auditor, even though my background is in electrical engineering and energy engineering, right? Renewable energy engineering. But I was able to apply it to anywhere. I found myself working, whether it's in finance and audit, whether it was in energy, whether it's in education, whether it's in fintech, anywhere you have data skills, you're able to thrive, right? And that's really, really important. The jobs of today are requiring you to have that analytical skills to be able to wield data in very, very interesting ways. So I'm going to skip this summary, but please go down and read it. It's very, very interesting. It shows you how analysts like write reports, right? So you see on a year-on-year basis, this figure, it grew by 10.4%. And that was about 4.96 million. And that's the number of metered customers, right? And it also goes on a year-on-year basis. Estimated customers increased by 2.58% in Q2 to 5.85% in Q2 2022. Here's what I think, right? This is how reports have historically been delivered. If you ever read newspapers back then, I know many Gen Z students or many Gen Zs now, it's like newspaper, it's like what? It's like you don't even see people selling newspapers anymore. Everything is online. But back then you would see reports like this, right? In newspapers, maybe sometimes there'll be some charts, most times no charts. It used to do my head in. I used to struggle. I'm just seeing numbers and you'd see people who really needed these numbers, they would be writing it down outside the newspaper, all these finance bros. We don't really need to do that anymore in this day and age. We can visually present it. It can look so much better visually. It allows, I think most people are visual thinkers. Most people prefer to see visuals. It's the reason why most people prefer to watch a movie than to read, right? That's an example. So imagine bringing all these numbers before in terms of like an infographic, like a dashboard. That is what we're going to be doing today, right? So first is I download the data tables. I have it, in Excel, open here, we're going to go through it. And then the next thing is I download the report just to give you a sense of how like the MBS has been reporting the numbers. So this is the report, the actual PDF report. So we're going to go through it very quickly. It tells you the methodology, right? It tells you again, the executive summary. There's an appendix and a contact. So let's go through the methodology. It says data is provided by NERC, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. It's validated by the MBS. The executive summary is no different from the same thing that we saw before. And then there's like an infographic here that tells you, let's zoom out a little bit so you can quickly see, this is as at the end of Q2 2023. We're talking April, May, June or so, right? 2023. These are the total numbers for Nigeria. Total revenue collected was about 263 billion, right? From what I see here, because the revenue here is the numbers you see times 1 million, right? In millions. And then the estimated billing customers is like 6,000. Oh, no, sorry, 6 million estimated billing customers. Metered customers, 5.4 million. Total customers, right, is 11.4 million. And then the total energy billed in terms of gigawatt hours is 5,900 gigawatt hours. All right, so that's the quantity of energy that was actually billed. Okay, great. And then it goes on to split it. This is the report. It goes on to split it for each disco. You can see Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, 43 billion. The next one is Benin, 20 billion. So let's see. Eko Disco, 43 billion. Enugu, 21 billion. Ibadan, 27 billion. Ikeja, 52 billion. Nobody mentioned Ikeja. IKEDC, just 10 billion. Kaduna, 8 billion. Kano, 13 billion. PHC, 18.8 billion. Yola, 5 billion. And then the last thing is, the data set at the end, and then the contact, right? And I think we can do so much better, right? By visually displaying these numbers, by showing it in terms of trends, by having an idea in terms of the spatial view of the data. Like, hey, which section of Nigeria is usually billed the most, and it can give you a sense of direction in terms of energy consumption in different parts of Nigeria, right? Energy demand, energy consumption, energy build, yeah. So that's it. Ikeja Disco was, was the highest. So I don't think anybody got it, right? So I was gonna drop a 20% discount for our data analytics bootcamp coming up next month, but so we can move on. Nobody got that. All right. But like I mentioned, I've already downloaded the data, right? It looks like this. So Q1, I think I downloaded 2. Let's just focus on 1, right? Let's focus on 1. So this is the data series. It comes like this. The first process is just trying to, I'll call it normalize your data. You put it in a format that reduces redundancy. that allows you to easily analyze your data and visualize trends. It makes it so much easier, right? And here is what I mean, right? So it gives you these numbers, right? It gives you these numbers. What am I seeing in the comment here? I see I see Ogechi is trying to you trying to rough it up. Yeah, it's close to Keja. I hear you. Okay. So I see June 2023, and I don't really understand what these numbers are, right? So it's like, what are these numbers? They haven't put any headers here. Okay, I think the numbers are actually clearer now. So what happened was the whole series was there's something called freeze pane, right? So it means that you should watch out for things like this. It tells you that a particular aspect here was frozen so that you can scroll without moving that pane. But you can highlight the whole thing, Control A, right? Go to view, go to freeze panes, and then you can unfreeze those panes. So you can easily see the trend much better. So this is a little bit easier to understand, right? The table here, you can see it has been written here as total customers, right? That's good. The table here is showing up as metered customers, right? And then the table here at the bottom is showing up as estimated customers. So you will know that total customer is the sum of metered customer and what is it? And estimated customers. That will give you your total customers, right? And then it tells you the revenue collected over here at the bottom. And at the final one, it tells you that this is a series for the energy supplied or billed, right, in gigawatt hours, So it goes all the way from January 2015, right, all the way from January 2015 to what is it? What do we see here? June 2023. We have a whole long series of data. Shall we have a look at how then to combine this more effectively so we can easily visualize the series, makes things better, makes things better. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I think we can analyze, say, we can analyze the data, we can put it in a separate sheet, right? Whatever we're making changes to, we can put them in a separate sheet. So it's easier to grasp, easier to understand. And this is what we're going to do, right? This is what we're going to do. We're going to come here and call it combined sheet. Create a new sheet, we call it combined sheet. I'm gonna go to the series. Let's start with something like the energy build, right? So this whole process is called data normalization, right? Let's start with energy build in gigawatt hours, and we can highlight everything like this, come down, Control C to copy, and then we go to this combined sheet and we can paste it like so, right? We can paste it. Now, what we're gonna do is to ensure that every column has a header, right? This is all part of data normalization. Every column has a header, and two, we remove calculations, right? We remove totals. So you can see that we have some totals involved here, right? So we can do justice to that first by removing totals. we're going to say, so this total here, you see is, for instance, this discos here is summarizing the total. If I remember, energy build. The first thing we have at the bottom here is energy build in gigawatt hours. Is it possible to drop the Excel file? Of course. Can I even drop the Excel file here? I think I can drop the Excel file here. I just don't know if, I'm going to be allowed to pick the Excel file right now from this. Yeah, because it's currently in use. But let me save it. Let me save it right now. Close it. This is the Q1 2024. I don't need that. I can add the Excel file right now to the meeting chat. So maybe Lucky or Ogechi, you can download that and share. That's the file I'm using. Is that cool? Okay, cool. So I'll go back to that. Let me refresh. This is it over here. Open it. And this is the report. Let me see if the report shows up. Q2 2023. You can have that as well. All right. Okay, so we have the Excel combined sheet here. This part is the data cleaning. Realistically, it can take you a long time, but I don't want to spend too much time. Maybe we'll just look at two aspects: revenue collected and electricity billed, right? And then I would invite you to add more later so we don't like complicate it. In the combined sheet, what I was trying to say is that what we have copied now is the energy billed in gigawatt hours, see these numbers. And here's the secret in Excel. So you can see these discos here. These are all the discos. How many of them? 11. How do I know? I did not count it manually. I looked down at the bottom right here, right, which shows you a quick aggregate, right, based on what Excel can do for you. Sometimes it can be sum, it can be minimum, maximum, or average, but what is most relevant in this case is a count. So it has quickly counted that I have 11 items highlighted. That's how I know, right? And if I highlight this guy here, it tells me that there are still 11 items, but the sum is 1732, right? Which matches what I see here, right? 1732. That means this entire row is a calculation. It's a total. You want to remove totals from your normalized data set. You want to remove totals from your normalized data set. So I highlight that row. I can right click and click delete, or I like using shortcuts, Control minus. It remove that. Makes my work so much faster. Same with these totals over here. See this column? It's the total, right? It's the sum of all this data that comes before it, right? And how do I know? When I highlight this entire list of cells, right? I look at the bottom right, I see a sum. What does it say there? It shows 2865. And what do I see here for the total? 2865. So that's a very quick Excel trick. You don't have to always write functions, you can just highlight and I know, hey, this is the total sum. If I highlight this entire row, what's the sum? 3144. That's the sum that shows up here, 3144. So this is a total. I'll remove it. Let's see if we have other totals. We have a total here. I remove it. I come here. In 2017, we have a total here. I remove it. We come here. 2018, we have a total here. I remove it. And I think it goes all the way as well to these other ones. 2020, right? 2021, remove it. 2022, and I think that's the last one. And then we have the sum for Q2 2023. We don't need that as well. We can remove it. And yeah, so that's a whole series of data. We can name this column. Remember, every column needs to have a header. Everything here is standing for January 2015. Everything here is standing for February 2015, right? All the way down to these aspects, which is what? I don't think I can actually see. Yeah, all the way down to the end, which is June 2023. So yeah, you can also see that in this case, it's formatted as a date using a formula bar, right? So if you highlight this, you see that this is formatted as 1st of the 5th month. This is formatted as 1st of the 4th month, 2022. So we're good. The final thing is just to rename this guy, the header, as disco. And then one more thing is to create an additional column that tells us what metric are we actually looking at, right? In this case, metrics are things that you'd like to monitor. They are sort of like your indicators, right? And in this case, the indicator is what? Can anybody guess what the indicator is in this case? We have like 4 indicators here, 4 metrics. Number of metered customers, estimated revenue collected. In this case, the metric is energy billed in gigawatt hours. So we just call this energy billed, and then we can say gigawatt hour, like so. And we can bring this down like this, just repeat it. So this is telling us that this is a disco. I can remove the fill here. Let's make it neater. Yeah, so whatever I did for energy build is what I am gonna do for revenue as well, right? For whatever I did for energy build is what I'm gonna do for revenue. And when I want to combine both of them, this is how it's gonna look, right? I don't need to, when I want to combine both of them, I can just, again, I can copy all of this, but it would mean that, I would need to remove certain columns, right? So let me just copy all of this, come down, copy, and just put this in a fresh sheet, I'll remove this guy, this goes, and I'm just gonna go through this very quickly. You're seeing XX or hash hash here because it's compressed. So I'm just gonna remove totals and go quickly. Right, I see a total here. I see a total here. I see a total here. I see a total here, and we're almost done with this part. I know this is the boring part, but this is also very, very interesting. And then I see a total here. Wow, there's a moment at which the revenue collector was 0, for which disco, we'll see it's much better on the map. I mean, on the chart when we're done. So, yeah. So this guy is the revenue collected in millions. What I just need to do is to highlight the data itself, like so, to the end, copy the data, and come back to this combined sheet, and then paste it, like so, right? Of course, it's a bit wider because it's money, right? Whatever you have here times 1 million, that's what we're gonna do at the end of the day, right? Oops. Okay. So let's see if it matches to the very end. Otherwise, we would have made an error. It looks like it matches, right? Oop, it did not match. We missed something, didn't we? Hold control and increase width. Thank you very much. So everything can, yeah, so we can do this, right? To the end. And then we can do this slightly, so everything increases. That's a good trick. Thanks for that. But we missed something. Can anybody tell me what we missed? Did we miss it? Let me just do Control F and look for total. We missed one total here, you see? So we remove that total. This combined sheet, we don't need this anymore, all these guys, because we missed it. They have to match, right? So I can go back to this sheet, copy it again, right? Control C, and then come back to this combined sheet and paste. Let's go all the way to the end. It has to match, right? It matches, right? We don't need this date. We can only use one date, right? At the top, we remove that, right? Control minus, or you just delete it, whatever you want to do. And okay, what metric are we going to write here? Does anybody know? We're going to write this metric as revenue collected in millions of naira. Revenue collected in something like this. Maybe millions of naira. NGN millions, something like that. Or yeah, and then we repeat that all the way to the end, and we're done so far. Now we can try to visualize all of this, right? And to visualize, I'm going to use a tool. In fact, we don't need this sheet anymore. We can delete that sheet. This is just for us to help us clean a little bit. So this is our combined sheet, right? This is our combined sheet. I'm going to save it, Control S. We're going to use a tool called Power BI. If, as I mentioned, if we have some time, we'll get there. If somebody has the chance to help us do some, would I say, analysis before then, research, is to go into Google and try to list all the states for each of these discos and help us with it, right? It's like, oh, what are the states under Abuja? We get that. What are the states under Benin? Eko is Lagos. Ikeja is also Lagos. Jos would be, Jos Plateau, Kaduna, or no, not Kaduna, maybe Jos Plateau and Benue and those places, right? So if you can help us get the list of states, you're on your way to becoming a wonderful data analyst. But we're going to use a tool called Power BI, connect this Excel, and visualize the data. All right, so I'm going to open Power BI here. As you see, Power BI Desktop. I'm going to open Power BI Desktop. It's free. You can go online, download Power BI. If you're going to use Tableau as well, it's also free. Go online, download it. So this is Power BI we're going to open now. Okay. I'm going to connect on Excel workbook, right, to start. Okay, it asked me where is my Excel workbook. It's somewhere in downloads. I'll connect to that sheet. Electricity 2015 to Q2 2023. Please wait, it's establishing a connection. Okay, so you see here is a navigator. It tells me it's connected to that Excel workbook, and then it shows me all the sheets that I have in that workbook, right? So what I really want is this combined sheet. If I highlight it, you see it shows me a preview of the sheet. There are some transformations I need to do because it's not yet completely done, right? I see that it's telling me column 1, column 2, because it doesn't yet identify that this header I have here are the actual columns, right? So I'm going to transform the data. Instead of loading it directly, I will transform the data. This aspect is known as Power Query, and Power Query is such a tool that is like indisputable in the world of self-service data analytics. If you're so good in Power Query, it's like you can earn millions. Like nobody needs to know how you did it. It's like previously you would need programmers to write Visual Basic scripts, inside Excel, and those consultants will come and work. They will spend 1 month, 2 months writing code that can automate a lot of things. But with the Power Query ability, right, that you have, you can do the same thing without being a programmer. You just need to be a bit logical in how you apply your steps. And heck, you have 50 Excel workbooks. You can automate all of them into one. It will take some hours to write a script, but your refresh rate will be from 5 days of working to 1 minute. That's really what Power Query does. And hey, people will pay you a lot of money for skills like that. So the first thing to do, sorry? Okay, sorry, Ola, I don't think I've just muted you. The first thing I want to do is just this first row, I want to make it as a header, right? You can see the headers have not yet been acknowledged, right? So I'll make this first row as headers. I will just come to transform, and then there's a transformation here, very easy. It says use first row as headers. Okay, correct. Then another important transformation I want to do, right, is to ensure that all of these dates, right, that you see over here, instead of it being wide table format, it transforms into a long table format. That process is called unpivoting, and it's an essential transformation that helps you transform your data from what you can use manually to what your analytical engine prefers, right? So databases prefer data in additional rows, a long table format, as opposed to a wide table format. So you can see we have data in a wide table. It's very wide. It's not really great, It's harder for you to understand. I mean, easier for you to understand as the person putting it, but it's more difficult for the analytical engine. So what we're going to do is just to unpivot, and you see how beautiful it looks once it's done. So I want to unpivot everything except these two columns, right? I'm just going to hold Control and highlight these two columns, metric and disco, then go to unpivot columns over here. But rather than unpivoting the columns that I selected, I want to unpivot all the other columns that I did not select, right? So I do this. And this is what it has done, right? It takes that wide table, transforms it into a long table. And yeah, we can rename this guy here as date. We can leave this guy here as value, right? So the value for the energy build. And if you go down as well, it's be the value for the revenue. And date is, this is something that is very important, right? The data type of every column needs to match. In our metric, it's text. So we leave it as ABC, right? So we have text, date time, decimal, whole number, percentage. You format it the way you want it, the way that is required. In our disco as well, it's also going to be text. We leave it as that. But in our date is not text. So we format it as what? As date. And that's very important. Then value, it's fine that it's a decimal number because some revenues might be in some, decimal numbers, no issues. So that's all. And then we can rename this sheet, we can say energy data. And once we're done, come back to the home tab, click close and apply. I know we're almost done. It's like everything we're doing now is, wow, cleaning data is like, when are we going to get to the visual, the sweet parts, I know like that's what is, on your mind, but we're here now. That aspect that you have done, that is, again, it's such an exciting part. It's what a lot of people will pay you for, because it's easy for AI now to design visuals, to just create a bar chart. But if you are the one who can engineer the data, who can clean the data, who understands the domain knowledge behind the data, then you definitely stand a higher chance of milking a lot of money from this process. So I'm just gonna like do this and say, maybe the first thing we want to see is just a line chart. If I extend this over here, we'll say do a line chart, right? We want to see how on a monthly basis, the revenue has trended across all the different discos, right? So what do? We can do this. In our x-axis, we drop the date, carry it and drop it in x-axis. In our y-axis, we drop the value. Okay. At the moment, it's summarizing everything, whether it's energy build or whether it is revenue collected or all of that. So we need to filter it actually, right? We need to drop a filter in the fields over here, which is to filter by the metric that we want. So we can come here, drop our metric, and say we actually want to show in this metric, in this chart, the energy build, right? This is what we want to show. So we want to show the energy build. Great. And then we want to split this energy build, right? Right? We want to split it by what? Maybe it's on a quarterly basis. We want to split it on a quarterly basis and split it by the DISCO. So what do? We can expand into the next level of hierarchy over here. So this is now year and quarter, right? So this now expands into year and quarter. Awesome. And we drag our DISCO into our legend over here. And we can see the trend of energy build, right? It's very easy. We can see the trend of energy build across all the DISCOs. If we are a little bit more ingenious, we can even show it in terms of the, would I say, the revenue generated, right? Make it a very, very simple chart. Here's what I mean. Let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to do just two charts over here. One would be a bar chart, and then the other would be a line chart like this, right? So I'm going to remove my metric here. So rather than have the metric just automatically filtered in this chart, I want to use a sort of drop down, a manual filter, so I can change it myself. So I'll remove this filter here, and I drag a slicer. I put a slicer into the chart, and in my slicer, I drag my metric field. Fantastic. So now, if I choose energy build, it will tell me that this is energy build. If I choose revenue collected, it will show me that this is how the trend of revenue is. Great. So that's better than fixing the filter. I can pull this guy over here at the top right. Great. I can put this guy over here. And I want to add a bar chart, say like a clustered bar chart like this. In this cluster bar chart, in my y-axis, right, I want to add my DISCO. In my x-axis, I want to add the value, right, the metric that I've selected. So if I choose energy build, it shows this. If I choose revenue collected, it shows which DISCO has the most energy build and the most revenue collected. And I think it's very, very clear that energy build is proportional to what is it, revenue collected. Yeah, and of course you can have a chart, a what is it, a visual without a like proper documentation and proper headers. So this is where I add a text box, and I can rename this over here to revenue generated and energy build by distribution companies in Nigeria. I can even put distribution companies as DISCO like this in Nigeria. Highlight it, change the font to Seagull, make it bolder, and maybe even increase the font size to 16 or 24 would be oversized, or 20, right? That works. And this is, yeah, a very simple visual that, you know, it's like you've done some work to bring it into this view. And then you can choose the metric over here. It's very simple. You know, you can add some decorations over here, like general, go to effects, add a visual border at the end of it, you know, just a very simple visual border. Do you want it black? Okay, maybe a dark blue. You do the same over here. add a visual border, make it a dark blue, you know, just something simple that highlights it. And of course, you also want to rename things better. Maybe I even highlight this instead of I want it as a dark blue as well. You also want to rename things properly, right? So this sum of value by Disco, what does that mean? Like that what you put here is actually you know is actually the selected metric, right? So you can make it work, right? If you come here and go into general, and you go into title, instead of sum of value, right, by Disco, it can be, you can write some formulas that tells you, oh, it's the revenue collected in millions, right, by Disco, right? So if I click on FX here, and I say, okay, it's the field value of what? It's the field value of metric over here, and I click OK. You see, it automatically transforms to revenue collected. If I change it to energy billed, it changes to energy billed. If I change it to this, it changes to revenue collected. Change it to energy billed, changes to energy billed, right? So that's really exciting stuff that you should be aware of, right? And of course, like, this is for the total period, right? So this revenue collected that you see over here is for the total period of 2015 all the way to Q2 2023. So it's not yet done, right? I would do the same over here. I would definitely do the same over here. I would rename, you see this Enugu, Disco, and all of this. It's harder for people to see what it is, right? It's harder for people to see what it is. You might want to shorten the name. By going to my data, you can see this AEDC. Maybe I can shorten it and just call them the exact names, right? You can split it after, whether call it YOLA or YEDC, whatever you want, right? It's probably easier to do that. And one simple way, I'm rounding up now, one simple way I can do that is maybe I go into transform data to go back to where I was before, right? And in this Disco, I go into add column, right? I go into extract, then I go into extract data between delimiters. So delimiters are characters that help you delineate or segregate a piece of text. In this case, the delimiters that I want are the parentheses, the bracket. So the start delimiter is this open bracket, the end delimiter is this. So I want to extract the text between the start and open bracket. I click OK, and you can see the delimiters have been extracted as AEDC. This is okay, EKEDC. I see some things are not consistent, right? Because how many do we have? 11? Is it up to 11? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, we have 11. It's actually consistent. Okay. So I can rename this as maybe Disco short or something, right? And I'll come back to my home, close and apply. So that's me now adding like additional data to my data. You can see Disco short. So when I come here to my visual, I go back to this format. Instead of using this Disco over here, I drag this Disco short and replace it. Now this is a bit clearer. This is a bit clearer. AEDC, you can highlight it. This is AEDC, BEDC, EEDC, EKEDC, IBEDC, EEDC is the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company. And don't forget to save, guys. Save, Ctrl S. It doesn't auto save. And that's what I have for you today. I hope that was exciting for you as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toby. In my mind, I already feel like a data analyst. Thank you very much. Me personally, I'm going to also like go through, follow your step by step so that I will not put that my own. All right, so I'm sure we all have questions because that was a very beautiful presentation. I learned a lot. Power BI, wow. It's nice. It's very, very nice. So I'm going to leave the floor open for any questions or comments. If you have something you want to add, if you have a question that's been bugging your mind, the floor is open. Please, either you drop the comments or the question in the chat box, or you just raise your hand and I'll call you. All right. Will the video be available? I believe the video will be available because we're currently recording the section, so yes, it will be available. Any further questions or comments? All right. Lucky has verified it will be available on our YouTube channel. Okay. Okay, Lucky, I think. Lucky, do you have a question? Your hands are raised up. You can go ahead.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. Satobi, that was a beautiful presentation. So for me, a lot of us here, or quite a number of us, actually, let's say, beginners or novice when it comes to data analytics and all of this. So me, I have a good feel to an extent because I've done the Resagratia training that was around 2023. So I have a good feel. But for those of us who are novice or still trying to get a good feel of data analytics and exploring Power BI and all of that. So I would like for you to, give a word of advice to them or what you think they can do. And of course, the Resagratia bootcamp is coming up, even if that's, I think it's one of them has started already. And 15% for those who are participants of this meeting. What would you what would be your advice to those of them?
Okay, thanks for that, Lucky. Before answering that, I think I see one question from Olushola in the comment. How do you know what type of chart to use? I think there are some basic rules for important charts, right? So usually when you want to show trends over time, the key thing you want to go for is a line chart, right? Line charts are specifically very useful for showing trends over time. And anything over time means there's a date component or there's an hour of day components, things like that. If you want to show sort of data in categories, right? So categories are usually text data, for instance, Ikeja, Eko, Abuja. You want to show the sum of energy by each category. You use a line, a bar chart, whether it's a horizontal or it's a vertical, it's the same bar chart. If you want to show things like a part of a whole, it's like a part of a whole would be very simple. It's like of the people who registered and joined, this meeting, how many were male, how many were female? That's part of a whole. 60% were male, 40% were female, for instance. You use things like a pie chart, parts of a whole pie chart, and the rules go on and on. If you want to show relationship between two variables, you use a scatter plot. It's like, does revenue generated correlate with the energy build? You can put it on a scatter plot to show you maybe the higher the energy build, the higher the revenue generated, things like that. For spatial data on a map, use a map. So yeah. And Lucky is asking as well, how do you export your visualizations for use? It's very easy to export, visualizations here. Let's even say I save this data, this visual. I'm just gonna save it. Yeah, let me just save it here as revenue generated and energy build like this by this goes. I'm gonna save it, and once I'm done, either, especially in Power BI, you can export, right? Not import, export to PDF. So if I export this to PDF, it will generate the data and then it will bring it up in PDF. So I can save this now, and for instance, I will share it. It's not very good, because again, yeah, it's not complete. If I'm going to share this, I would rather come here and go to my general and go to my title and just change the value for title and say it's field value, maybe it's the metric I choose, and it tells me that this is energy build, and then whatever the value is. I can do the same for that. And if I come here and export that, export, go to PDF, and then I can save this. If I save this guy here, right? Maybe just save it in downloads, revenue generated by Discos. Yeah, you can share this. Yeah, so that's how you can export and share data on Power BI. The process is a bit different for Tableau, but similar things. And I've just shared that with you in a group chat. You can download it and see how it looks on your mobile or yeah, or laptop. Advice for young people is to, I would say, just be very open and very curious, right? I think it's very, very important for you to know that the world is changing and you're going to do a whole lot of things with data skills, right? You don't have to be a data analyst. I tell you this because right now I do a lot of product management. I help people and companies build applications, help them retain users. And a core part of my job is using my data skills to help those companies increase revenue and all of that. So you can be an operations manager, you can be a lecturer, you can be an energy engineer, you have touch points of data. And as beginners, I would say it's like trying to learn on your own might be really tough, right? This is where a place like Resagratia comes in. This is why we have very tailored beginner to advanced learning, right? Taking you through how we would have wanted to learn when we started out, right? It's 4 month program. You come out really, really confident. I'm not going to say it's easy for you, right? It's not going to be just a walk in the park, but it goes through a very gentle to a ramped up learning curve. It's scheduled in a way that you have a lot of mentors and tutors to support you throughout your 4 month program. You have your boot campers as well that support you in your learning, and everybody's an industry expert. We're not salespeople. All of us, as you can see, I'm very hands-on. I build dashboards. I consult for companies, and it's how every single person who's going to teach you and be your mentor at the bootcamp will come very hands-on. So stay curious, and please, like, just know that it's I think it's just really, really important for you to understand that you can get started, like, easily. It's as easy as just going to resagratia.com, online, and or you can even just type Resa data in Google, and to bring up Resagratia. And if you want to get started on your learning before the March cohort, you can start by applying. It costs $10 or 15K, and you can already, with that application fee, get started on building heat maps, analyzing Twitter data. There's a whole lot of resources that you can access for that very, would I say, very affordable entry fee. And if you do decide to join us, right, for the more extensive 4 month bootcamp, then you have to enroll completely in our bootcamp. Data analytics is what I'm going to advise for people starting out. Data science is for people that already have a lot of analytical skills already and want to build on their knowledge of, predicting outcomes and developing models, right? And this is what we take you through in our data bootcamp. Yeah, I think that's it, right? What I have for you. I don't see any other questions. So, yeah.
Okay. I think a question came in on the box, but it was a private message. I think it was supposed to be directed to the group. So,
Right,
I may ask, for the use case, what insights can we draw?
right. So if we is it for this particular data? Can we draw some insights?
Yes, Ayeni, if you would like to speak up more on your question, I don't think it's understood. Okay.
If I don't hear anything, I think I can just maybe just touch on this data, maybe how I would even like sort of begin to interpret it. Some of the, when I started out, I asked you guys, hey, what disco do you think generates the most revenue? And you can see here that it is, so much easier to just easily tell which disco generates the most revenue. But if you're a little bit more curious, you might want to ask some additional questions like, hey, in terms of revenue generated, you have some top three guys, right? This this guy here, this guy here is the Ikeja Disco, right? The next guy here is the Echo Disco. The other guy is the Abuja Disco. But I don't feel like the trend is consistent for every single disco out there, right? Because if you take a look at this yellow guy, Just Disco, at some point it started generating more revenue than the disco that preceded it, which I believe is Kaduna Disco, just below. So Kaduna Disco used to generate more revenue than Just Disco. And by Q2 2022, Just Disco started generating more revenue, right? So they must have done something there. You can ask, try to understand how, maybe what is Just Disco doing differently? Or did something happen differently in Kaduna? So those are some things that obviously like line charts help you review. If you are just looking at the reports, the infographic, right, that is shown here every quarter, you're never going to pick out the data like that. You're never going to know, right? And this is something that we can even delve into a whole lot better by the time we add data on estimated billing and metered customers. It's possible that from Q2 2022, this period, right, where it changed, Just Disco decided, you know what, we're not going to be giving people estimated bills. We're going to start metering more people so that we can have more sustainable recurring revenue. So maybe at that point, the metered customers for Just Disco increased because why are you still giving estimated bills when you should be measuring customers? So there's a huge data point that is still not added here. And I implore you guys to do that on your own, right? Ask those questions. That's how I would look at it. As revenue is increasing for these guys, are metered customers also increasing whilst estimated bills customers reducing? Because nobody likes to be getting estimated bills. Estimated bill customers will not pay fully because they are begrudged, they are annoyed, like why am I getting estimated bills? So you might even understand the strategies employed by different discos by the time you delve into the data much, much deeper. Yeah. And some of the questions that you might want to ask is, for a couple of all these discos here in the middle, the energy that they bill their customers is not too different, but are the revenues the same? So you then ask questions and be like, hey, it's possible that the billing rates, the energy, the tariff per kilowatt hour is different. Why is it different? Are certain discos very efficient or they're not efficient? I have to also say that domain knowledge is important. So I can talk about this data because I was trained as an electrical engineer. So, but it's something that you can read up. There are so many people in the electricity industry today that did not study electrical engineering, and a lot of them are lawyers. They know this because they can read and understand. You guys are engineers, so I'm 100% sure you can do the same. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that did. Thank you very much. So we're going to move to the next um thing on our list. So yeah, Lucky, please you can go ahead with the closing remark.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the call. Thank you so much, Toby. I've been on this with Toby since last year, back and forth, trying to get him to, facilitate this session. It's one of the rare privileges that you will get to get such a session like this for free. And I would encourage every one of us. I'm quite sure that a lot of us, if not 90% of us on the call, we are engineers and mostly in the oil and gas sector. You cannot run away from data. Data will be everywhere. Currently, those skills I was able to master in my training with Resagratia in 2023, they are quite there are those skills that are quite surviving me in my use because I work with a lot of data and trying to make meaning of data, trying to join insights from data, build creating reports. So these are the skills that they will ask for. When you see job opportunities, they will say proficiency in Microsoft Excel, proficiency in Microsoft Office Suite. These are the skills they are talking about. And I would enjoin us if we're just those of us who are just starting our career, even those of us who are still in the industry, it is a good opportunity for us to build our skills. So this is just like a tip of an iceberg in the whole of data analytics. So I encourage you, you can sign up for the Resagratia training to sort of further enhance your skill. So the why I like the Resagratia training is just that if you are a working class person, very busy, it's it's all in a comparison. It can accommodate everybody. It's you work with your time, you work at your pace. You are given a sort of a timeline, but you can also work within your pace. And I love the fact that you also get professionals and a community of fellow trainings to sort of work with you. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Toby. Thank you for facilitating this session and also the 15% discount. Let us maximize that and be part of the boot camp that will be coming up. And I hope that this training it was valuable to us. And I hope that we'll put whatever we've learned into judicious use. And I see you all on top. Thank you so much for being part of today's session. Then you can also um, keep tabs with us for our follow our subsequent trainings and programs coming up on YouTube channel. You can find this recording and you can sort of go over it again, practice what you've learned, and also further enhance your skill. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Ogechi.
Thank you very much, Lucky. In addition to what Lucky said, I also like to emphasize the need that no matter what industry you find yourself, no matter where you're working, like for example, I'm into the oil and gas industry, and I've tended to discover that the more efficient you have with data, the more reliable you become automatically. So I can't overemphasize the importance of being a data analyst, even though no matter what organization you find yourself, analysis is very key. You tend to find easy ways to do things. And imagine you're a data analyst and you're working in an oil company and they had this way they did their thing and it wasn't really that easy. And you came up with this analytical solution for them to process their data as more easily. Just imagine how if I you read star. So I would also want to encourage all of us to take a hold of this opportunity. The 15% discount. Wow, that's a lot. So yeah. So in order not to waste our time any further, we're going to be moving to the photograph section. I would want to use this opportunity to ask everyone to please turn on their camera so that we can see your beautiful faces and then we can take a picture. Thank you very much. Please let's turn on our camera, our videos. Right. It's just me and Lucky that okay. All right, thank you very much. So the way we used to do it, like SP. So once you're ready to go, I will say SP and then we just respond. SP.
Cleaner energy, cleaner energy.
All right, just give me a sec. Let me pull up this out. All right, let's take one more. SP, please, Esma, why are we voting? All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for joining. And I hope we all have a pleasant day ahead. We look forward to seeing your beautiful faces in our next program. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. You can call it a day. Bye.
Bye, Ogechi. Bye, everyone. Thanks for being part of the session today.